Larry, tell me the story. Like you are from here?
I'm from Coburg. I left Coburg on some traumatic experience and ended up being on the streets. Ended up in Niagara Falls. Originally, it was for a 4-day weekend. Got stuck there due to situation that arose,
How
and
how long ago was that?
that would have been 6 years ago now.
Okay, all right.
And while there, we made stationary camps. We weren't able to get stable housing. Had been accepted through subsidies and everything you can imagine, and they just never had places that were appropriate or acceptable for the subsidies requirements, even when showed by the region.
And tell me if you can about the requirements. Like tell me again. Forgive me if I say this wrong, but tell me what your issues are again, if I can. And as I
For
say, if
us,
it's not too personal.
he has Asperger's. I'm partially disabled, being in a wheelchair. And what happens is, with it, because I'm still married, we help each other out more often than not. But with his Asperger's, he has his own room. Yes, well, he needs his own room. He doesn't have one now, but he needs his own room. Just because overload, outbursts. I have Cushing's, which is adrenaline based, and the two combined, it can get volatile. So, 2 bedrooms is always a necessity with that. And otherwise, we were able to afford up to $2,254 a month. But the requirement was it had to have 2 bedrooms. It could not have 3 or 1. Had to have 2.
This is part of the medical thing, like, or is
This is for the subsidy.
you had to have two?
We had to have 2 for the subsidy because we each are entitled to it based on our incomes. And based on that, they were saying we could get into any place. It was a Homes for Good subsidy, is what it's called, which eventually goes into the Canadian Ontario Housing Program. So that your rent subsidized wherever you are. So it doesn't have to be rent guaranteed income housing. We found a landlord that accepted us. We found a place that met the requirements. We were to be in there for June 4th, I mean. They took away our subsidy for June 1st because we didn't have it approved by June 1st.
And why did they? Oh, so they.
They had no reason other than the fact that they said, you've had long enough to look. You've seen enough places, even though he and I had looked at a couple, but if the landlords won't accept that, then you're stuck. And if they won't accept the places, and they had told us it didn't matter. We could have 2+ bedrooms as long as it was no more than $2,254 a month. Our shelter portions of our ODSP would cover what we'd pay. The subsidy would cover the difference. We'd be responsible for the utilities on top of that. And then, of course, you have whatever left to live on.
So what? So what? I guess. So that's why you were on the street, or that's why you.
We were on the street because we couldn't afford to pay $60 a day in a motel, $1,800 a month, for a room that if you grabbed, sorry for the words, but grabbed cat by the tail, swung around, you'd hit all 4 sides of the room. And they were charging $60 a day. And if you're late, more than that. We started out in the motel at $2,500 a month. You can't afford that. Not when your total income is $2,500 a month. We ended up going out onto the street panhandling just to be able to try and make rent. And then eventually it got where the $60 a day place, with not able to panhandle, make up the difference. We had really bad weather. We couldn't panhandle. We went to go out panhandle. We were given panhandling tickets. We were each handed a $95 panhandling ticket because a tourist walked by on Clifton Hill and said, "Don't let the pigs take you down." So we got tickets. That night, we're trekking with, we had been sleeping in front of the grocery stores and other storefronts just for a place out of the weather. And then COVID.
Oh, yeah.
We actually spent 3 weeks in front of a closed gift shop that we were trying to scrub tags off the walls that other people had left there. Just because we figured we're staying there, we wanted to leave it better than we had as a thank you for letting us stay. He called the police on us saying we were interfering with store traffic. He was a
Non-essential business.
non-essential business, so
So he was closed during COVID.
Oh, so he was closed.
he was closed, and
So
he called
there
saying
was
we were
no traffic to interfere
None.
from.
That's right.
there was no
'Cause he was
traffic in
closed.
Niagara Falls. It was a dead city.
It
Yeah.
was called matchups.
Yeah. So how did you? So from there, why did you come back home? I guess.
To see my doctor. Medical treatment wasn't the greatest in the Niagara region,
There was no
and
good
I have a long medical history. I've had neurosurgery, I've had back surgery, I have Cushing's, I have diabetes, I have a list longer than your arm for health reasons. Being outdoors, health got worse. I wanted to come see my family doctor. We came back, and we had nowhere to go. No way to stay because we can't afford to travel. And they won't even give us medical coverage to do so. Even if they said you can get a doctor here, no problem. Not one that has my history. Not one that knows everything from my childhood on.
So do you have the same doctor now, though?
I came to see the same family doctor. She kept my file open the whole time I've been gone. She said, while you're gone, check in. If you have any issues, give me a call. If you need a prescription renewed, I can renew it for the ones that are my inhalers and things like that. They're basic. Otherwise, she said, if you need something done, x-rays and that, I'll see what I can do to get that ordered for you. But I also used to see Dr. Miele here, a pain specialist. They no longer have him at Northumberland Hills as a pain specialist. They no longer have a pain specialist in Niagara. In Northumberland, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't get one in Niagara. I was hoping when I came back I'd be able to get it back in to see with him. Because,
And that's just with your chronic illnesses.
yes,
Yeah.
that was pain blockers and that. But being outdoors, bursitis, apparently I have. I went in, both my hips seem to be displaced. I'm having to use a wheelchair the majority of the time now because of that.
So did you see the
Right?
what Doug Ford said yesterday when he was in Coburg?
We got told by a couple of workers. We didn't see prior to that. I looked online and I got to read and I was horrified.
So I don't know what you've seen or whatever, but that's okay. And I don't know what you've seen about it, or just to clarify what he did say, he said, if you can get off your ASS, get off it and work. If you can't, because of conditions or something, he said that he would take care of it.
us. I read that.
And
No one's taking care of us, really. We're left hanging. I've been basically without any electronic interaction for over 5 years. Not TV. I only just got a cell phone a week and a half ago.
how'd
2
you get
weeks ago.
that?
It's my ex. It's my ex. It's my boyfriend's.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Cell phone that got broken.
Oh, yeah.
And he managed to get another one fixed. So between the two broken phones, I have one working.
Can any place take you? Transition house, anything, or do you?
Transition house can't take us because of the dogs. And if conditions are still the same in the house as they were 6 years ago when I left Coburg, they aren't properly disabled accessible. They said that when we went to speak with them, they said, well, all we can do to help you is we could send you back to Niagara. To what?
For sure. What is the answer to this? So here's somebody like, you're not addicts.
No.
You just it's health reasons why you can't work.
Exactly. And based on that, they need to get the affordable housing. It's the housing. It boils down to it. Everyone keeps going on and on about, oh, we're letting too many refugees in. You know what? If we're letting too many in, then that means every building that currently is being derelict, abandoned, not in use, would be full. There are comments of being overhoused if you have more bedrooms than people. That's bullshit because more houses that are 3-bedroom houses have been built because of families. So it's cheaper to get a 3-bedroom than it is a 2-bedroom. So for us right now, we could go out, no problem, with a subsidy or even with what we have, that would get a 3-bedroom that could eventually get us onto the Canadian Ontario Housing Program, that we'd have to suffer into, but we'd lose out because of the fact of the 3-bedroom. They'd end up making us leave. In Niagara, they got to the point where if you were in a 2-bedroom and had been there for 10 years on this subsidy, you were having to find a 1-bedroom, or you're being kicked out and kicked off the subsidy. You're losing your house and being put onto the street
Because you shouldn't be in that.
because it's overhoused. You have one room more than you do people sleeping. Yet if you bring someone in for that room, you lose your subsidy
It's supposed to be
Because there's
housed,
too
not
many.
kenneled.
because there's too many people, and they have to include their income into your subsidy account.
Which makes it too much for the.
So you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
What is, not that there is a simple one, for you two, just for you two, what is the answer? Not for everybody else, not for the addicts, not for whatever, but I mean, for 2 people that are unable to work, what would help you?
But you better than us on that.
Landlords that would be a bit more open and accepting, not painting everyone with the same paintbrush.
As in addicts?
As an addict, like assuming that because you're disabled or that you've been homeless and on the streets, heck, everyone looks at me. Chocolate covered caramel apple on Clifton Hill during an ice storm on the street. I decided I would treat myself. I got an extra $5 together, went over to the fudge factory, got one of these, not thinking of the weather or the fact that my dad had paid for a root canal 40 years ago. Took one bite, nothing in the apple, no tooth. Everyone takes one look at me on the street, says, she's a junkie. And they pick. I got followed around in Coburg, escorted around Walmart, Home Depot, and Canadian Tire by the store managers while spending $8,000. I got a loan. But because of what I look like, they assumed I was stealing.
When was that?
That was
3
3 weeks ago.
And forgive me, so when you bring up the money though, what,
I applied for a loan with the intention that it would get us the things we need: our generator, our heaters, what we need in order to survive out here.
so that's why you're at Canadian Tire, obviously.
Yeah.
But the phones are
And
around
Home
like
Depot.
shoes. Do you have
We got
costs?
some tools so that if we can get some skids, and I bought nails, screws, drill, hammer, a barbecue, a generator. Well, that was from Canadian Tire. So that we could have power in the woods, because our problem is being new with the generator. It sparked, we weren't sure of it, so we haven't touched it since until we have someone come in to look at it. It meant we've had no power. So we had no cell phone to call people and say, hey, we're out of water. And for us to get water, because of the people that used to help us with that were nearby, I've put this into disfavor because they didn't like the fact that we weren't going to give them money that we didn't have. They cut us off.
What about the encampment? Would you go there?
Not in a million years. We've avoided encampments from day one. Wherever we've been, it's only been him and I. We only once made a mistake of letting someone come stay with us, and 2 dirty tents filled with dirty rigs later, and the result being our camp getting demolished because of him. We said no more. We would never do that again. One time only, and that was it. We don't want the drugs around us. We aren't into it. We have no desire to be around it. We understand everyone has gotten where they are in life because of things that have happened. You can't judge anyone unless you've walked their own shoes. Unless you've been right there, you can't do it. We all have different experiences who make us who we are. Our hope is home. We're on the way down the slope. I've hit 15. I still have one living parent. He's 87. He's not got too much longer himself, I'm certain, with his health. But he and I are the family we have. And so, even though people will say, hey, this is wrong, friends, family, whatever you want to call it, we're there for each other, we help each other, and we're going to always be there for each other. But we need a home to do so.
So have you asked for help around here?
I have. We've had multiple agencies get in touch with us. NHH, Northumberland County. We've had 3 workers that way. iHark has been great with us. But the county has offered to put my belongings into storage and have me go stay at Victoria Park Campground till October 23rd when the season ends. At which point, during this time, my shelter cost will be taken away from me, but I will still have to pay $55 a day there. Otherwise, I'm to call around to the provincial campgrounds, see if I can have any of them accept me, such as Emily Park, and they will still apparently come cross-county to support me every day. Once a week, they'll come out to speak to me, and I have to find my own way into my doctor.
Plus storage and travel.
Yeah. So
Plus, I have to pay the storage and travel.
So what? And forgive me. What was so you pay 55, but shelter cost? Like what's shelter cost?
Shelter cost is the portion of your ODSP check that they determine is what should cover your rent. It's $567 at the moment, and that
A month.
a month.
And the campground would charge you?
$55 a day.
Makes sense, eh?
So I would be in the red.
So it's better to not.
And even then, I wouldn't even be getting my shelter cost. They were going to take that away from me because I don't have permanent shelter. That's only temporary shelter. So they were going to take away my shelter portion, which is the $567, and make me pay that out of my basic needs portion. So I'd have about $150 to live on a month.
What's the future hold?
We're hoping a home for the 2 of us and our 2 dogs. Just a quiet life where we can be ourselves and not really hurt anything. We haven't never tried to. The whole time we've been homeless, we've never stolen. Not once.
So you've never been charged with anything? Like no?
Not since we've been homeless.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, everyone was a kid at once. But the whole time we've been homeless, our thing was we'll sacrifice our pride, not our freedom. We clean up wherever we are. We see wherever drug paraphernalia left around. Sadly, Niagara Falls is a lot worse than Coburg. But we clean it all up.